Hello and welcome. This is the presentation for GCSE 2012 Reforms Going Linear. I'm the Chair of Examiners for GCSE Astronomy, and I'm going to take you through changes that affect GCSEs in general and indeed emphasise the very minimal changes that are going to affect the GCSE in astronomy. The session is being recorded and you'll be able to listen to it again on the internet. Okay, I'm going to take you through the presentation slides, and any questions could be kept to the end. Okay, what are the GCSE reforms? These have resulted from changes to all GCSEs in England. All GCSEs basically are going to become linear in structure, with exams taken at the end of the course. Now, it's important to realise that depending on when you are starting your course, this may or may not have an effect, but as I say in astronomy, in fact the changes are so minimal that it's unlikely that when you start will have too much of a bearing. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you through the various courses and course structures to say when the full effects of the changes are going to be implemented. Basically, this affects two-year courses starting in September 2012, this next September, and three-year courses which started last September in 2011. The changes are going to involve, as well as when the exams can be taken, there are going to be some changes to spelling, punctuation and grammar, but this is going to be for GCSEs in English literature, geography, history and religious studies. Units cannot be resat before cash-in, and this will perhaps have an effect on some of the ways that we're doing, or some centres have been doing controlled assessment in the past for astronomy. There will only be availability of exams in the summer series, but this has always been the case for the astronomy GCSE. Controlled assessment I'll refer to later, but as at present can be conducted at any time, but it does need to be submitted at the end of the course, and we'll see that that is potentially a change. So I'm going to run you through the slide of the proposed off-qual timeline. This is the standard timeline across all qualifications, but there are some differences depending on which subject is being sat. So here we see a timeline color-coded from the starting dates, whether you start in September 2010 or 2011. And see what effect it will have with the various exams that are coming in. And although this does not directly affect astronomy, I think it's important to run through just where the effects on other exams are going to come in, and indeed where we will definitely be fully linear with the new controlled assessment hand-in restrictions. So basically, September 2011 will be the first teaching of the last time you can teach the two-year GCSE courses with any modular assessment. You'll see now that the entry to the GCSE units for awards no later than autumn 2012 for English language, English and mathematics, and no later than summer 2013 for other subjects. These entry dates are shown on the slide. So June 2013 will be the final exam series with modular assessment, but excluding English language, English and mathematics. In astronomy, we of course still only have the June exam, Unit 1, but the controlled assessment, as I say, we will also now, after this period of time, need to make sure this is submitted at the end, but I'll refer to that later. The final exam series with modular assessment in English language will happen in November 2013, and as at present the 40% terminal assessment rule needs to be met. So in January 2014, which wouldn't have referred to astronomy, and March 2014, there will be no more GCSE examinations. Okay, if we now look at the first teaching of 3-year GCSE courses, and there may be some centres that take astronomy over 3 years, although I think a 2-year course is more usual, then starting in September 2010, that will be courses that include the new regulations on spelling, punctuation and grammar for English literature, geography, history and RS. 2-year GCSE courses that are on the new system would have started in 2011 for the and the first teaching of the totally new linear GCSE 3-year course would also have happened in 2011, in September last year. 2-year courses for the new GCSE will be starting this September, and this for the normal 2-year astronomy course will be your starting date. And so from next September, any changes that will occur will apply to astronomy. You'll see that from the series marks January 2013, March 2013, June 2013 and November 2013, all the external assessments will include additional marks for spelling, punctuation and grammar in the subjects I've already referred to, but this is not the case for astronomy. In June 2014 and June 2015, GCSE is available as linear qualifications, but it's the summer series only. And then lastly, the GCSEs in English language, English and mathematics are available as linear qualifications still in November 2014. However, no other subjects will be available in that November. So there are minimal changes to the actual specifications, and indeed in astronomy there are no changes at all. With the exception of those subjects introducing marks for the spelling, punctuation and grammar, there is no plan to change subject content of specifications as a result of these reforms. And the reforms will only affect the way external assessment is taken rather than changing the assessments themselves in the cases of the subjects I've already mentioned. Candidates will have to take all GCSE assessments at the end of the course for awards made from summer 2014 onwards, and the GCSE examination series will be restricted to the summer series, May and June, apart from English, English language and mathematics, which will offer retake opportunities in November. Now, the marks I've already referred to before, there are going to be additional marks in English literature, geography, history and religious studies for spelling, punctuation and grammar. And these changes will affect written and externally assessed units available from January 2013. In these cases, marks will be allocated to individual questions, and students will be informed which questions include marks for spelling, punctuation and grammar. In the controlled assessment, there is no content change, no proposed changes to the controlled assessment content. Schools may continue to schedule controlled assessment at their discretion as permitted by the specification. Indeed, in astronomy, this controlled assessment should be spread throughout the course, given the need for clear nights or clear skies during the day for the observation sections. Controlled assessments, however, must be only submitted at the end of the course for qualification. In astronomy, that's the Unit 2 mark. Controlled assessment units results may be carried forward, however, if the student wishes to retake the whole qualification. There's a note here on the slide to say you'll need to make sure that you're using the correct task for the submission date at the end of the course, but astronomy has already changed the 2009 plus series, so the tasks are as we have been doing for the last year. Candidates will not be allowed to carry unit results forward from one examination series to another, except where those units have already been used to count towards a GCSE single award and a candidate wishes to reuse the unit result for a double award in the same subject. Again, this doesn't apply to astronomy. Or where a candidate wishes to carry forward the result from one or more controlled assessment units in order to retake the whole qualification. This might be the case in astronomy, as at the moment, if a controlled assessment unit is to be taken again or carried forward, then the exam, Unit 1, must be taken. And the two submitted at the end of the course. A slide here just before we look at the astronomy in particular, referring to performance tables. The headline indicator will continue to be the 5+ A* to C GCSEs, which have to include English and mathematics. All qualifications, regardless of size, will count as the equivalent of one GCSE. Vocational and academic qualifications will continue to be recognised. Edexcel certificates will be included. And the EBAC, a new performance measure awarded to any student who secures good GCSE, C or above, or accredited certificate passes for English, mathematics, history or geography, 2 sciences, and an ancient or modern foreign language. So, having talked a little bit about general changes to other specifications, I'm now going to look at astronomy specifically. And as the headline says, the changes are really very minimal. There will be no changes to the astronomy specification content. So the 2009 plus content that was examined for the first time last year will continue with no change at all. There will continue to be 2 units. Unit 1, the 2-hour exam, and Unit 2, the controlled assessment unit. Centres will continue to have freedom in curriculum planning and course delivery over either 1 or 2 years. And again, this freedom, very important to realise that early planning of the controlled assessment is terribly important given the dependence on weather and the spreading of observations over the course. But there is no restriction to the planning that's going to be needed. Controlled assessment can take place at any time during the course, and as I say, it's likely that the design element of the controlled assessment should take place relatively early in the course, whether one does a trial run in the first year and then the real thing. And having done the design early on, it gives plenty of time for the observations to take place during the course. But then the analysis and evaluation will occur towards the end of the course itself, at the end of the 1 year, or if 2 years are taken, at the end of the 2 years, and then submitted. So what this may mean for some centres is that there is a change in that controlled assessment must be submitted at the end of the course. So controlled assessment cannot be submitted halfway through and a mark for Unit 2 gained. The controlled assessment Unit 2 must be submitted at the end of the single year or the end of the 2 years and submitted with the exam. As now, the exam needs to be taken at the end of the course itself, whether that is 1 or 2 years. Now, I've referred already in various subjects to additional marks for spelling, punctuation and grammar, and in astronomy there is no change. There will be no additional marks for spelling, punctuation and grammar in astronomy. Indeed, it's some time since we had these. What we will do is to continue to take into account the quality of the written communication, and this is exactly what we've done for some time. We will award this in specific questions in the exam itself, in Unit 1, then It's likely to be the third or fourth mark in the extended answer questions. These are the longer questions that tend to occur towards the end of the paper. And in these questions, as is the case now, and I apologise for the capital A on your slide there, it should be a little A star. A star will be indicated by the question number itself. So when one is doing the question, the candidate should realise that if the little star appears in the left-hand margin, this indicates 1 mark specifically is given for quality of written communication. So in a 3-mark answer, there'll be 2 marks of astronomy facts, 2 separate facts for astronomy that'll gain marks on the mark scheme. The 3rd mark is how well those are communicated, and we'd be expecting full sentences with proper spelling and punctuation shown. However, it would be possible to show bullet points as long as those were full sentences with capital letters at the beginning and a correct use of punctuation. In this case, the final quality of written communication mark would be awarded. So that's in Unit 1, the exam. In Unit 2, the controlled assessment, as is the case at the moment, the final mark, there is certainly allowance for quality of written communication marks, if you look at the mark grid, in the 3 written sections. The 3 sections which are under a high level of control, i.e. done in class, or at least under control, not like the observations. Observations, of course, can be done in their own time and are largely drawings. But in the design, the analysis and the evaluation sections, then quality of written communication must be taken into account, and the quality of the written English, the ability to put across ideas, to write full sentences, and to explain what is being done, of course, is highly important and will continue to be awarded. So, in a sense, really no change to what is going on at the moment, but you must realise that, and I think there is sometimes some doubt as to what quality of written communication means. In a sense, we are looking for exactly what it says: the ability to confirm one's answer in a way that is easy to understand. But poor spelling, poor grammar, and lack of punctuation, although not specifically called SPAG in astronomy, is the sort of thing that would tend to mean the quality of written communication mark might be lost. Okay, the examinations and controlled assessment in astronomy. So, in a sense, this is a summary slide of what I've just said. In the examination itself, there is no change. The structure of the Unit 1 examination will remain exactly the same. The exam will remain a 2-hour exam with 20 questions and questions at the end, or some of the extended questions having the quality of written communication mark. But in other senses, there's no change. The total mark will remain 120 marks, with 1 or 2 of those, certainly not a large number, being available for the quality of written communication. The controlled assessment has minimal change, and as I've indicated already, really I think most centres at the moment are going to be continuing exactly the right way. Let me just work through the slide and just emphasise for some centres what the potential change might be. There is no change in the choice of tasks and no change in the assessment criteria. These will all remain as they are at present. However, centres can still choose to schedule final writing of Unit 2 when they wish. So really there is no specific need to write it up at the end of the course. It could be done fairly early on in the course. A centre might wish to let candidates have more time to do their list A, the naked eye observation, and the list B, the aided observation. But the write-up can be done whenever they want. But the assessment itself must be submitted. So normally the early May the 15th deadline, submitted for external moderation only at the end of the course, i.e. in the same season as the terminal exam, the single 2-hour paper exam is being sat. So it is not permitted in this new series from 2012 2-year start for centres to submit coursework earlier than in an earlier session, probably a year before the final exam, and then resubmit it again, perhaps to gain extra marks. So it is important to realise that the controlled assessment itself, submission must be in the same season as the exam is taken. If the candidates wish to carry forward the results from a controlled assessment unit, this is now possible, but only in order to retake the whole qualification in the next series. So if observations have been done and the design, analysis and evaluation have taken place under controlled conditions, the candidate perhaps scores lowly on the actual exam paper, but the observations and the Unit 2 controlled assessment has been reasonable, then it is possible that the candidate could carry those results over from the Unit 2, but only by retaking the whole Unit 1 exam in the next session. Now, I've gone through this fairly quickly. You'll realise, and I hope be comforted by the fact that the changes to the Astronomy GCSE qualification are minimal, and I suspect for many centres really there will be no change in operation at all. Of course, given the success of the qualification and how pleased we are that we've got a new specification for the 2009 series, that it's very good news that we're not having to alter the things that we're doing. So if you have any questions, there'll be an opportunity after this to ask questions, but I've put up a last slide for various support mechanisms that exist for you if there is any doubt in the submission or the content that I've worked through. The subject advisor, Stephen Nugas, I know is always happy to take calls. His number is there, and alternatively you can email him. Ask the Expert, which I know many of you have used, will put you in direct contact with senior examiners and moderators who should be able to get back to you with more specific subject detail. And they try to get back to you within 3 working days. So Stephen Nugas certainly for general inquiries on the some of the details that I've said about hand-in times and general non-subject specific inquiries. But if you want something in detail of subject content or content of the controlled assessment, then Ask the Expert is probably the way to go. There will also be a series of mailings this spring to make sure that you're kept up to date about any reforms, and as a centre, of course, some of your colleagues in other subjects will have to pay perhaps even more attention to the changes that are being implemented. Please do keep an eye on the Astronomy webpage, and this will have updates of any changes that are appropriate, and we're always putting up helpful links, and also there will be obviously more past papers and mark schemes coming up as they occur, and there are helpful documents there, especially with teacher guide and controlled assessment suggestions. So I hope that you found this comforting and useful. The changes really are minimal for GCSE Astronomy, and I very much hope that you will continue to enjoy the course and with some good planning be able to submit controlled assessment at the end of the specification itself. So thank you very much for listening to this presentation, and I look forward to seeing you submitting ever more candidates. Thank you. Bye.